From the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know at the News You Trust studio. Sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Joel Penorwood with today's Ag News. This week has been the 2024 National FFA Convention going on over in Indianapolis. Ohio well represented by our young people in blue corduroy jackets. Our own Matt Reese catches up with Mason Jolliffe for the Ridgemont FFA chapter.
Can you tell me a little bit about your proficiency project? And I also want to point out you are a sophomore in school now, right? So you're pretty young to be here at the national level. That's got to be kind of exciting. What's your project and what have you been working on?
So my project is over my last two research projects of Agri-Science Fair. The first one was the study of Nebraska Tractor Test Lab, and it tested the horsepower on tractors, and I wanted to test the reliability of them versus a manufacturer, make sure all their claims were correct. In my test, it proved that most of them were wrong because they always overestimated it when all the powers all the tractors were underpowered compared to their estimates. My second project was a study of Nyalec. It is a clear coat that was used in NASA, and it has been to the moon and back. It has no competitors, so it is probably one of the harder researches I've done.
More with Mason Jolliffe of the Ridgemont FFA chapter and many more young people on the national stage. Online at ohioagnet.com today, thanks to Wilmington College. The National Pork Producers Council expressing some concerns about the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee's latest report. The group criticizing the lack of a scientific basis for recommending plant proteins as a replacement for animal proteins. The committee recommended moving beans, peas, and lentils from the vegetable group to the protein group, while the National Pork Producers says that's deceiving to Americans as there are essential nutrients in animal proteins that plant proteins just don't provide. It also puts at risk infants, young children, and adolescent girls, pregnant and lactating women, and older adults, they said, as they require higher amounts of protein and nutrients that are provided by animal-based proteins. In other news, the current Farm Bill, current no more, as it's expired about a month ago, September 30th. And as a result, many important agriculture programs on hold. That includes, as the American Farm Bureau is pointing out, several trade promotion programs. Betty Resnick is an economist for the American Farm Bureau, tells us Title III programs generate outstanding returns for Farm Bill investments.
Title III is often called the trade title and accounts for less than 0.5% of overall Farm Bill spending. Half of that goes to an aid program called Food for Peace, which uses U.S. commodities to do capacity building, and the other half goes to export market development. These export market development programs have major bang for their buck. In a 2022 study found that for every dollar spent on these programs, an additional $24.50 of agricultural exports resulted.
And she says those Title III programs promote a wide range of commodities.
These programs benefit all of agriculture. That's one of my favorite parts about them. Over 70 organizations representing different products were awarded grant funding in 2024. This hugely diverse mix ranges from big commodities like corn and soy to smaller ones like hops, ginseng, and cranberries. As cranberries are really only grown in North America, export development dollars are used to educate consumers on how to incorporate them into their diet in culturally relevant ways and on their many, many benefits.
And of course, quick to point out that ag trade is essential to the overall ag economy.
About 20% of all U.S. ag production is exported overseas, and there's also $2 of domestic economic activity created for every dollar of ag export. So ag trade is important both for our sector and the economy at large.
The American Farm Bureau Federation pushing hard for a new farm bill right now. And stay tuned. Coming up next, we'll take a look at market numbers, how they wrapped up the week. A preview of that. Grain down, livestock up.
Soybeans grown in Ohio and across the heartland are meeting the feedstock demand for clean fuels. Biodiesel is a clean-burning and reliable fuel that enhances engine life, power, and mileage. Plus, this high-performance fuel works in any diesel engine without modification. With biodiesel, we fuel the economy, do good for the environment, and support soybean farmers. Learn how using biodiesel can add value to every bushel of soybeans grown at soyohio.org.
Did you know soybeans' #1 customer is animal agriculture? That includes Ohio's pig farms. Soybeans provide a blend of protein and energy to keep Ohio pig farms growing. Nationally, Ohio ranks 7th in pork production, and those pigs consume 6.3 million metric tons of soybean meal. It takes a lot of soybeans to make that kind of bacon. Soybeans feeding the industry that feeds us. Brought to you by the Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
You're listening to the Ohio Ag Cadet. Let's take a look at market numbers as they wrapped up the trade in Chicago at both the Board of Trade and Mercantile Exchange on Friday. A down day for grains as December new crop corn off 6 1/4 to 4.15 1/4 per bushel. March corn contracts 4.29 1/2, down 5 1/2. New crop soybeans down 8 1/2 to 9.87 3/4, while January beans 9.97 1/2, down 7 1/2. July wheat 9 1/2 lower to 6.05 3/4 per bushel. Markets brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. October live cattle 40 cents up to 189.70 as November feeder cattle gain a nickel to 248.58. January feeders up a dime. December lean hogs 79.68. That's $1.03 higher. And a milk class 3 for November down 20 cents today. More markets, news, and much more online at ohioagdet.com. I'm Joel Norwood. Thanks for tuning in to the Ohio Ag Cadet.